Why do we find so much to complain about when we're at the happiest places on Earth? In today's video, I will continue my Things Coaster Enthusiasts Love to Complain About series with another set of complaints. Even after creating 2 videos full of complaints, there's still plenty more to talk about. Sure, some of these topics will bleed over into past topics, but that just means that there's more to unpack. Alright, let's get to our first topic, complaint. Bad weather. I think everyone can find something to complain about when bad weather is in play. It's horrible after planning weeks, maybe even months in advance, only for your trip to be soured by bad weather. My last visit to Cedar Point was greeted by light rain all day long. Thankfully, the weather wasn't heavy enough to shut down the roller coasters, but with a soaking mask and cold temperatures, it can damper the fun. Also, then there's this random thunderstorm that can show up in the middle of a day, bringing any fun to a grinding halt. Every park has a different policy when it comes to lightning, some are more strict than others. I've been in parks where the rides wouldn't operate at all, even though there wasn't a storm cloud in sight or it already passed like an hour ago. Now, there can be an upside to bad weather. For starters, it can scare away larger crowds, meaning more ride time for you and your party. The best scenario is when you plan a trip for a park on bad weather day. Many don't come because of the rumored weather, but fortunately for you, the clouds hold back and you have a grand time enjoying the short lines. Long lines. If there is one thing that can ruin a day more than the weather, it has to be wait times. As a coaster enthusiast, we are used to standing in line. For the most part, we will tolerate a longer line if it's for a new credit or a ride on one of our favorite attractions, but when we wait hours for a roller coaster that turns out to be a dud, what a waste of time. If you can believe it, I waited about 90 minutes for the Wild Mouse at Idlewild. Granted, it was kind of a rare credit since the roller coaster is like never open, but the wait wasn't worth the excitement I got out of the ride. Complaining about long wait times extends past the attractions. I hate it when I have to stand in a long line just to gain access to the park. We've been there. The park only has a couple gates open, so it's a timely process for every party to walk through the security checkpoint. Finally, what I consider to be the worst of the worst to wait in line for, and that's the food stands. Since 2020, many parks have shut down their water fountains, forcing you to stand in a line to get a drink. Now you're waiting 20 minutes, 30 minutes, heck, I've even waited upwards of an hour to get a food or drink item. When the food lines get this long, that's when I know it's time to leave. Skip the line passes. Going along with the long wait times, let's talk about the necessary evil that is the skip the line pass. I think Disney was the first to introduce this concept at their theme parks. It wasn't an upcharge but a way to control the flow of guests through the park, helping to balance out the overall wait times for their attractions. Now, almost every major theme park has jumped on the bandwagon, but instead of offering it as complimentary, it's an upcharge service. The prices vary by park, ranging from $50 up to $150. Also, some of these parks offer different packages that include limited skips or make it only available for a smaller selection of rides. I feel like I'm always picking on Cedar Point, but their Skip the Line Pass has become a necessity if you must visit during a holiday or weekend. It's practically the only way to do the park. For those who don't purchase the pass will be frustrated by even longer lines that move at a slower pace. You could be standing still for 15 minutes while watching other guests just waltz right through in the fast lane queue. I think if I was given the opportunity, I would end the skip the line system and work on improving ride capacity and efficiency. Since I know that this will never happen, these skip the line systems are turning into a real moneymaker. Coaster enthusiasts will have to pay up or deal with longer wait times. Basketballs. Let's change the pace and talk about an unusual complaint, and that's basketballs. I'm sure you've experienced this before. The park has a 3-point throw game and the winner gets a basketball. Well, these basketballs make their way into the midway, causing chaos. They'll be bumping into people, rolling them across the pathway, creating trip hazards, or just being annoying bouncing the basketball non-stop, sometimes even in a ride queue. Thankfully, I haven't seen many basketballs as of late. Maybe the parks are starting to get the hint that basketballs belong on the court and not in the theme park. Bad ride physics. I sort of touched on this topic in my last video by discussing incorrect coaster facts, but I think there is more here to complain about. Starting in the entertainment business, we've seen a movie, TV, or ad that features a roller coaster with unrealistic physics. Cartoons will feature roller coasters that are impossible to construct or would most certainly kill you by the forces of the ride. Now, a cartoon should get a pass because most of them are created with a distortion of reality. Movies is where I have a bigger issue. They will show you a roller coaster that has unrealistic physics, or make a roller coaster out to be super dangerous, as if you're rolling the dice every time you strap in. Bad physics extend into everyday talk. I couldn't tell you how many stories where people tell me that the ride jumped off the track, but we managed to land safely, or the restraints popped open, but thankfully I survived. I mean, if your restraint came loose mid-ride and you managed to stay in the seat, I would have hoped you would have told the ride operator, but since I know your story is BS, let's move on. Over-the-shoulder restraints. Just like my last topic, I've also talked about restraints before, but this time I'm going to be a little bit more specific, focusing in on OTSRs, which is over-the-shoulder restraints for my GP homies. Imagine walking up to a roller coaster that you just assume has a lap bar, but instead are greeted to ridiculous OTSRs. King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure is one that comes to mind. There's also the addition of the comfort collars found on some of the Skyrocket 2 models. These are pointless, and I've complained about them in the past. Let's be real here. If you were given the choice between a lap bar or over-the-shoulder restraints, I'm always going to go with the lap bar. It frees up your arms, enhances the airtime, and eliminates any headbanging. Now, there are some roller coasters that need OTSRs, like Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. Could you imagine if a flying roller coaster only had a lap bar? Anyways, to me, one of the biggest tell to find out if you're a hardcore coaster nerd or just a GP is if you like OTSRs. The answer should always be lap bar. Well, that wraps up yet another list of things coaster enthusiasts love to complain about. If you enjoyed this video, please click on that like button and subscribe. That way you continue to get great content brought to you by Extreme Thrills.